All right, it is now 7 o'clock. The meeting of the Human Affairs Committee is called to order Monday, November 21st at 7 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Alderwoman at Large, Shoshana Kelly.
I'm here.
Alderwoman at Large, Gloria Timmons.
I'm here.
Alderman at Large, Melbourne Moran Jr. is not here. Alderman Patricia Klee, clerk, I am here. And Chairman Alderman Thomas Lopez.
I am here.
Okay. We have 4 in the chamber. We
All
have
right.
quorum.
So our note says Julian Long is present. He is not.
And
but we do have Kevin Picillo?
Yep.
I got it right? Okay.
Yes.
So at least we have that. Let's leave the possibility that Julian will come in. Was he expecting to come in through Zoom?
no, I didn't have anybody coming in at Zoom. I'm assuming that because it was tabled, he didn't know that we were
Okay.
going to be bringing it up.
Right, well, if he shows up, we'll look at it. If not, we can just wait until he wants to
We
present.
can leave it tabled.
Yep. We are now opening public comment. We don't actually see any members of the public here. If they had been here, they would be welcome to comment. Communications?
Communications from Julian Long, Urban Program Manager, in regards to the Urban Program Department updates, October 2022. There being no objection.
Mr. Long is not here, but without objection, I will accept the communication and place it on file. I explained my reservation to the members of the committee because there was that one time accepted a communication and apparently it was like a whole act. But this appears to be just a letter, so I can treat it without suspicion.
Without suspicion, I like that.
Any unfinished business?
None?
New business resolutions?
Yes. R22-072, relative to the acceptance of $58,000 from the State of New Hampshire Department of Justice into Police Grant Activity 2023, Violence Against Women Grant Program, and to authorize the transfer of matching funds.
See Patrolman Pacilio up at the public comment?
Just to finish, I motion to recommend approval.
Okay.
Final passage.
Did I say?
Recommend final passage, yes.
Final passage, thank you. Well, do we recommend final passage here, or does this have to go to the BOA?
No, we recommend final passage
Final,
to
okay.
the BOA, and the BOA does make a motion.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
We're just making a recommendation.
Thank you.
Patrolman Pacillo, is that the right way to address you?
Kevin, it's fine with me.
Welcome back.
Officer?
Do you want me to just speak to the grant itself?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the grant itself is through the New Hampshire Department of Justice. It's a federal pass-through. There is no cash match on this, so the match that we have is actually salary. We exceed what our requirements on this grant. And the grant is to help fund one of our domestic violence advocate and partially for one of the officers that's assigned to the domestic violence unit. It runs from starting in January 1st of 2023 and runs through the calendar year of December 31st of 2023.
In the context where you say we exceed the grant expectations by providing matching salary, can you tell us about the program itself? And is this any different from previous years? Do you see like a community need for this particular program? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a community need, but this is going. I was looking at the records. It goes back to 1997. We've been awarded this grant. We've tried to have an increase because some of the things we need for the program itself. We used to have Hope Phones, which were for our victims, and that was funded through Verizon. Verizon stopped that program a couple of years ago. So I've been going back to them asking for funds. It's been $58,000 for several years now. It hasn't been an increase, even though costs have gone up. We stayed at $58,000. But they do fund training for our officers and our advocates. They just sent me a email last week for some conferences that are coming up, one in Chicago, one in San Francisco, that will be funded by the state itself. There will be no out-of-pocket for the PD on that training. So, but the program itself, our unit is comprised of 2 officers and 2 advocates. One of the advocates been with us for 14 years. We absorbed her into our budget last year, and we hired a second one because of the, unfortunately, you know, is a high need for advocacy for our survivors of domestic violence and sex assault, and that's what they strictly just deal with, is those victims there. So.
Beyond the humanitarian considerations, have you found that having advocates and being able to connect with people that are struggling with domestic violence fallout have been helpful in conviction rates, getting people off the street that are potentially dangerous, interventions, that kind of stuff?
Yes, I mean,
Okay.
it goes unsaid. I mean, they help with, one of the reasons why I think we do so well is because of the unit itself, because what happens when, the person comes in, gets arrested, and then the victim sometimes is left out and doesn't know what's going on. This process keeps them in contact with us itself, and we keep them up to date what's going on with the court case itself, and they'll actually seek input from the survivor to what they want, how they want this case to be disposed of, or how is the end result for it. So they're empowering them that way too. So it's a great program.
As you say, it should go unsaid, but recently we've had a lot of questions about line items and why do we do stuff. And I mean, many of us here have experience with people struggling in the community, and we know that the police do a lot more than just arrest, not arrest.
Correct.
And that's that's why you get the accreditations and the results that you do. But we also need to review that at the committee level, so that when it goes to the Board of Aldermen, we don't have somebody asking, why this, why now, what happens if we don't do it, that kind of stuff.
I mean, if we didn't do it, it would be tough to fund that second position. We just got the second position last year, so we would be setting ourselves back if we didn't have that second position.
If I recall, we added the second position because there was an increase in domestic violence during the pandemic, and that doesn't look like it's really abated. And unfortunately, it's pretty consistent what we get for calls every year, but the difference is the conviction rates and stuff that change. Unfortunately, you try to work with the same people over and over again, but you try to get them out of that cycle. And majority of times we can do that, but unfortunately, you get one out, then another one is right behind them, unfortunately. So. And those relationships don't conclude on a calendar year. So keep going.
Yes, yeah. With the you mean the way they report it?
Yeah, the way they experience it.
Correct.
I would imagine,
yes,
like,
exactly.
You can't be like,
exactly,
oh, well, my
yes.
23 budget's over.
Yes.
Luckily, everybody in 23
Correct.
just broke up.
Correct.
So good for that.
Sorry, misunderstood the humor there.
Alderman Kelly, and then Clete.
Thank you. I know this is something that we've dealt with number of years. I'm glad that we get the funding. You mentioned that it's kind of been level funded. Is that what you're saying? Like,
yes.
Do you know how many years?
I went back, it was like 5 years so far, it could be longer.
Yeah.
I can definitely send you an email tomorrow to get you the exact amount.
I mean, if it's not covering the cost, I'd love for it to cover the cost.
Yeah.
Especially if you have an increased need.
Yep.
So I'd love to know.
Yeah, definitely.
Alderman Clete.
Thank you. It's probably piggybacking off of Alderwoman Kelly's comments. When I'm looking at the resolution itself, in the analysis, it says resolution authorizes the city to accept the funds from the state of New Hampshire for justice for the purpose of funding law enforcement. Upon passage of the resolution, $82,825 of matching funds budgeted for this purpose will be transferred into the police grant activity. So it sounds like the police budget anyways, has put the $82,000 in there to kind of match that. So does that mean the $82,000 plus the $58,000 is approximately?
Correct, but that $82,000 is a part of the officer's salary.
Right.
Yes.
But it just goes into a different fund. In other words, you've been, if I may, I'm sorry. So just because of anybody who reads this, I want them to hear that we're not taking in $2,000. The officer is there. We're just moving his or her salary from one pot into another pot. Is that?
No, it doesn't work that way. So the way that in the grant world that you have your cash matches, your in-kind, so they allow you to show people that are working on the grant, so other ways you can meet that requirement. We have several grants that we use. This one here is just strictly the officer's salary. I'll give another example, like we have the highway safety grants. And again, what we do is, there's usually it's a 75-25 split. You hear those, like those splits they talk about.
Right.
So 75 is paid by the state. The department's supposed to come up with the 25%, but they allow us to use overtime or prep time, whatever it is, you know, or even straight time on the officer. So what we do is we send our traffic unit out onto several directed patrols to get those hours to match that 25%.
Okay.
So there's no extra cost, and I shouldn't use the word overtime because it's not on overtime
Right.
either. They're all on straight time doing, you know, the work that it's similar to what the grant is for.
Thank you. And
So.
may I, quick follow-up, just comment?
Yes.
This is just a comment. I again want to echo Alderwoman Kelly's words, and as well as Alderman Lopez. This is extremely important. I know a number of years back, I had a constituent who had been attacked by a significant other and didn't know where to turn, and the police were there and helped her get through it. And she had a young daughter at the same time too. So it's invaluable to have that assistance. And as you pointed out, victims not just sitting there waiting, wondering what's happening and so on.
Yeah.
Someone was, whether actually or proverbially, holding her hand. And I think that's extremely important in this kind of a crisis. So thank you.
I agree, thank you.
Alderman Timmons, any comments? Anyone want to weigh in on it?
I think the officer knows my sentiments already, so.
Good, okay.
Good
I've
thing.
been dealing with him for a very long time, so.
All right, then if there's no further conversation, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And motion for recommending final passage carries.
Want me to go on to the
Madam
next
Clerk?
one? Yes.
R22.
Yep, R22-073. R22-073, relative to the acceptance of $330,000 from the State of New Hampshire Department of Safety into the Police Grant Activity FY 2023 Opiate Abuse Reduction Initiative, OARI grant. Mr. Chairman, I motion to recommend final passage.
All right, you've all heard the motion. Officer, do you want to give us a little rundown?
Yes. So this one's through the New Hampshire Department of Safety Grant Management Unit. Again, it's a federal pass-through. It's for $330,000 roughly. And it's strictly for overtime and fringe benefits for officers that are working on these investigations. As you all know, these investigations are long and they take different turns, and they to include different types of hours that these officers or detectives work. We cooperate with the town of Hudson on this grant, so it's not just our detectives, that they also will send over officers to help us, and we do vice versa. We'll go over to their town and help with their investigations. So I'm trying to think. And it's strictly for, and it used to be just, you know, we had, as we know, the opiate pandemic that's been going on. It's been fentanyl. Now our big push right now is methamphetamine. So a lot of the investigations now are encompassing the methamphetamine issue that's been going on too. So
Some of us would have referred to it as a substance use crisis over the past several years, because it's like whack-a-mole. You have one major thing presenting, you guys do the interventions, you drive the pipeline, you adjust it, but people still need recovery and they switch to another substance. So.
correct, yes. So these funds are good till next June.
Okay.
So we have to get it started soon because it's a lot of money that needs to be spent in a short period of time.
Alderman Clee?
Thank you. First, I noticed that they said the fiscal impact used to be for the specific, and there's no local matches required, which is a good
Correct,
thing.
yep.
But the thing I found a little bit confusing was we do this with the town of Hudson. The monies actually come to Nashua, and then we pay the town of Hudson. Is that accurate?
It's just like set up like remember the JAG grant I was here last month for?
Yes.
So it's same exact scenario. So where Manchester's the grantee and we're the sub-grantee.
Right.
We do everything now. So we manage the money. We submit all the reports and everything like that. They just submit their time cards to us, and whatever like statistics they have coming out of their town because we have to, there's a couple different reports that get submitted monthly. We actually have a National Guard crime analyst who actually, they lend to us to help with this program. So, because he or she, whoever gets assigned to us, are compiling reports on a daily basis when this gets rolling, because they're out there every day, so.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, you're saying there's a National Guard member assigned to Hudson?
No, to the Nashville PD.
Okay, that makes
Yep,
more
yep.
sense, 'cause I was like, we have the base here.
Yeah,
What's going on?
they send us a crime analyst for this program itself.
Earlier, you had said this was mostly for overtime and fringe benefits?
Yes.
So essentially, we're accepting money from the state to augment the compensation that Hudson police officers get in order to collaborate with us to address regional opioid issues.
Exactly.
Okay.
I appreciate everybody working together.
Better than fighting with them and having to do it ourselves. Alderman Timmons?
Oh, thank you, Chairman. I do have a question based on 2021 versus now. Did the overdose rate go down in Nashville compared to Manchester? Because when I was listening to the news about a week or so ago, it said that Manchester was still very high. How does...
I apologize, I
Okay.
don't have my statistics, but I did compile the report. When I filed for the application, we talk about, I compare previous years, and it has gone up.
It's going up?
Yeah, fatals and overdoses itself. So both categories have gone up from the previous year. During the pandemic,
Of course, yeah.
everything went down, which was kind of misleading. And then everything spiked, obviously, when life started to get back to some normalcy. So the last 2 years, it's gone up.
There isn't necessarily anything bleeding off on the people
Correct.
struggling with recovery either. We don't have a safe station. We don't have an adequately robust enough referral source. I do know that we have a number of other programs that have been getting involved. I know Revive has really cultivated its program from its infancy, a couple of years ago, and Rise Above and a number of other sober housing programs work in the Nashville area. Do they collaborate with the police?
They do, yep. So it's all through drug court.
Okay.
You're familiar with drug court, so, it'll be Captain Truffy now, but Captain Kenny used to spearhead that, and so whoever's the detective captain will be in touch through drug court. So, unfortunately, they come through the criminal justice system first before we can get them, steer them to the right direction they need to get to the right path. So.
We do have a mayor's opioid task force, but it looks like it's largely focused on preemptive prevention kind of activities rather than case management or recovery-based types of things. Alderman Clee?
Thank you. This is not necessary for the officer. As a state rep, one of the things that I get on a regular basis, the AMR, overdose reports and so on, and we don't get that as aldermen here. So I've reached out and asked if we can start getting them here. Because I found, as a state rep, it was very helpful to have this information. Manchester, Nashville were both on those, and I'd like to, I'll try to reach out to Chris and so on to see if we can't get those reports. I think it would be very helpful.
That's exactly where I get it from too.
Yeah.
He's really, yeah.
He's really good at getting that information out. I was always surprised that I didn't get it as an alderman, but I got him as a state rep. So I'll ask them if they can add us. The whole
I do
board.
not miss getting the safe station alerts because
Yeah.
honestly, like getting them all day, every day and throughout the night, you're just like, geez, there's people struggling every moment of the day, everywhere.
This is just a collective report on I think it's a monthly basis that they put them out, and they showed the statistics the same time last year and so on. It's a fairly robust report, so.
All right. Any final comments? Okay, then, all in favor of recommending final passage, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And that motion carries.
Thank you, everyone. Good holiday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I noticed that Julian just walked in. We did accept a communication, but if you would like to speak to it or anything like that, I think the committee would probably indulge that.
This was about the urban programs.
Do you want to
Update.
move to the next motion, which is about the urban programs?
Alderman Kelly, can you say that again? I didn't catch it.
I was just wondering if you wanted to move to the next
The tabled
resolution. If we
item?
take it off the table, I think it's what Julian is here to
Before
speak
we
about.
Before we do that, is that what you're looking for?
Good evening, Julian Long. First of all, apologies, I was attending the Citizens Academy, which ran over a little bit. Yes, I have heard from our HUD representative that we were strongly recommended not to submit our allocation plan until we've had the chance to receive technical assistance. I guess a lot of plans are getting rejected after submission, and so unfortunately I have not yet heard back from my several requests for technical assistance, so I am recommending at this point that we just continue to table this until I'm able to get that.
Okay. I didn't want to start a motion and then be like, oh no.
That's
So
right.
I'm considering this a
I
presentation.
didn't know if we technically had to have it on the table to talk about it, but.
Did he want to speak to his communications at all, or?
Mr. Long, did you have any comments on your communication that you would like to share? I believe Alderman Clee might have had some questions.
Good evening. I don't have any particular comments, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
No, actually, my questions were more for the plan itself. But on a side note, if I may indulge,
Sure.
I do have a question about people asking more about the home assistance program and different things like that. I know that's not on the agenda at the moment.
If I could interject.
Sure.
If the board is willing, we could just move to general discussion and then you can.
Okay,
do
then I
whatever
can
you want.
ask at that point, yeah.
All right, so we're moving
I'm
to general
happy.
discussion.
So I just, if you just wouldn't mind doing a quick of what the home program is, and the topic has come up. So to give you context, the topic has come up with the new taxes that have gone through there, and many of the elderly are now paying where in the past they may not have had to pay, or it's significantly higher. And people are looking for assistance anywhere they can. They've told to go to southern New Hampshire and so on, and that's not the appropriate place to go. And I'm not really sure that this would be either, but it came up as topic. So for anybody that's listening, if you wouldn't mind kind of explaining what that program is.
Absolutely. So there are several things I think are worth mentioning. First of all, for the Home Program American Rescue Plan Act funds, which are the ones that are still in the allocation process. We're still working on the allocation plan. There is a component to that for tenant-based rental assistance. That's something that might be helpful for folks who are on the renter side versus the homeowner side. Another source of assistance we have available is through the Community Development Block Grant. And we have a housing rehabilitation program. So that's not direct help with taxes, but if there are deferred home maintenance, especially things related to health and safety, we're able to assist lower income residents with that, and that's for both homeowners and those who are renting.
Thank you. Yes, I think for some that have suddenly gotten a tax bill that they weren't expecting, they may be deferring some of this home maintenance, as you pointed out, and that might be a help with that so that they can make that tax need.
Or it could be an ambush because now their property tax goes up because they just improved their property.
Yeah, exactly. Well, many people that contacted me said, I haven't done anything to my property in 18 years or 20 years, and I was hoping to do something this year, and so in a roundabout way, it may help them in a different way, so.
No, yeah, I encourage them to reach out to urban programs and
So they would
see if they
contact
might be eligible.
You and urban programs. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yes.
And in reference to my tongue-in-cheek comment, actually, the best time to improve your house is right after the evaluation, so you get like the most out of it before somebody says, "Oh, you fix your stairs. That's worth like $8 more a year." Mr. Long, you have something to say? No. I would definitely recommend you talk to the other city departments though, so they don't refer people to home funds, and you get people that are like coming to you with hope, and you're like, "Oh, that's not. We can't do taxes."
No, thank you, I
It would be
will.
probably good to identify some resource for particularly elderly people who would qualify for the exemption that they can't apply for until January. And maybe some guidance for the, going to be city clerk and assessing people?
It would be the assessing department that I think that they have to file with.
Just an
between
internal
January
staff
and
meeting
April
to
1st,
clarify like what to do if somebody can't really pay right away.
Absolutely, I'll follow up on that. Thank you.
All right, any further questions for Mr. Long? Seeing none, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes, apologies again for my tardiness.
No worries. We're all happy to hear that you're involved in the Citizens Academy. It's a great
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
I think all of community development was there today, weren't you?
Oh, good, we have staff members learning where everything is.
Does
Okay,
Mr.
any
Long
other
have to run
items for
back
general
upstairs?
discussion? I'm sorry.
Does Long have to run back upstairs to Citizen Academy?
Do you need to go back up
Yes,
there?
once your meeting's over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're really
47
wrapping it up. We
Okay.
have general discussion and then public comment, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so any more general discussion? Seeing none, we'll now open public comment. There's no member of the public here. Remarks by the alderman. Alderman Clay, you can have 3 minutes. None?
I have none.
All right,
Really?
seeing no remarks.
Leave
Oh, Alderman Kelly.
Move to adjourn.
All right, not available motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Nay. We are
7:20
adjourned.
7:25.
You want to stay here all night, Alderman Lopez?
No, I was going to announce all of the enduring welcome stuff, but I forgot to miss.